Inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Now on a special Your Money Matters edition of Inside KELOLAND, we're devoting the entire half hour to the trade war between the United States and China. Tariffs on goods like soybeans are putting KELOLAND farmers in the crosshairs. Today on the show, we're breaking down what this means for you and your community. Sitting down with me is a soybean farmer and pork producer. Plus, what are the political implications of all this? Tonight, all three members of the South Dakota congressional delegation are breaking from their party leader. We're getting perspective from a political expert, and most importantly, hearing from the people this impacts the most in KELOLAND, our farmers. But first, let's start with the latest. Good evening, I'm Casey Wannenberg. This week, the Trump administration announced a list of tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods, escalating the trade war with Beijing. They include hundreds of food products, as well as tobacco, car tires, suitcases, coal, steel, and aluminum. The tariffs don't go into effect immediately. They'll undergo a 2-month review process first. This is just the latest in a series of actions between the two countries. The tariffs impacting KELOLAND the most, soybeans, went into effect a little more than a week ago, and the implications are already being felt in our area. Let's first break down what's happening. The Trump administration imposed a 25% tariff on $34 billion of products imported from China. Retaliation from China is what is hurting KELOLAND soybean growers. Over 2/3 of South Dakota's crop are exported primarily to Asia. On Wednesday, President Trump tweeted that will help soybean growers and that he will, quote, open things up better than ever before, but it can't go too quickly. I am fighting for a level playing field, and we will win. This is a point of contention with our lawmakers in Washington. South Dakota is Trump territory, but this specific issue is pitting the members of his party against the president. All three members of South Dakota's delegation have expressed concern about the tariffs. On Wednesday, Senators John Thune and Mike Rounds, along with Congresswoman Kristi Noem, wrote a letter to the president saying South Dakota producers can no longer just wait and see what happens with U.S. trade in the global arena. They're encouraging the president to make agriculture a priority in moving forward with trade negotiations. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, a strong supporter of President Trump, was on Face the Nation last weekend expressing concern with Trump's action.
Our voters are supportive of President Trump. Our farmers just really think that he is doing the right thing. But unfortunately, we are caught in the crosshairs. America's farmers and ranchers are always the first to be retaliated against in these types of trade negotiations. And the tariffs that have been imposed and the retaliation stemming from that puts us in a very vulnerable position as our markets go down. So I would just encourage the president. Of course, we want great deals, and I know he'll be able to negotiate those, but we would like to see a number of these trade agreements wrapped up in short order. The sooner, the better.
The Senate sent a strong bipartisan message to President Trump Wednesday, showing their frustration about his decisions he's been making on tariffs. Senators voted 88-11 in favor of a resolution stating the president must seek congressional approval before imposing tariffs for reasons of national security. This was a direct reaction to Trump's recent declaration of tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and the European Union, naming them security risks because of their history as U.S. allies. We're going to hear more from our delegation later in the show and talk to a political expert about this. Of course, the politics of this issue are important, but for us in KELOLAND, it's the impact. Kim Gittleson reports tonight from southwest Minnesota, just east of Brookings, to give us an in-depth look.
A nearly endless expanse of green waves. With row after row of soybeans, it's easy to see why this part of Minnesota is known as the Prairie Ocean. And for nearly 5 decades, each July, Bob Worth has walked his farm here.
This isn't the first trade war, trade fight, you know, so the tariff embargoes, this is nothing new for me. Is it good? No.
While he thinks his farm will be okay, at least for this year, he worries for the next generation.
So I can weather the storm, but what bothers me is our younger farmers that are just getting started. They're going to suffer. I mean, if we have, this could lower the prices a little more, this is really going to hurt them that might not be able to survive.
That's because farmers here send the majority of their soybeans abroad, mostly to China. An easy way to understand just how important the Chinese market is to the U.S. soybean industry is to take a closer look at this farm. Every third row here is sent abroad to China. But now, as the threat of tariffs has turned to a reality, orders from China have mostly dried up. U.S. soybean prices have plunged by more than 15% since the tariffs were announced in May, and that's wiped over $150 million in expected revenue just from Minnesota's soybean crop. But even with the prospect of economic pain looming, at a celebration of America's Independence Day, many here said they still supported President Trump's push for more trade independence.
Some of the other countries aren't too happy with it, but America first.
Something has to be done because we have been unfairly treated for years and years and years.
But if other nations are doing it, I don't know how we avoid doing it.
For now, farmers here aren't yet ready to abandon a businessman president who promised to help them, even if they're caught in the crosswinds of an escalating trade war. Kim Gittleson, BBC News, Minnesota.
We're going to dive more into this discussion. A soybean farmer from Huron is just back from Washington, D.C. He'll be joining me at the desk when Inside KELOLAND continues. As the trade war between the U.S. and China heats up, South Dakota soybean farmers are losing millions of dollars. Our first guest tonight is Brandon Whiff, a soybean farmer from Huron, and he is also on the board of directors for the American Soybean Association. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity, Casey.
And you literally just got back from Washington, D.C., too.
Yes, just a couple of hours ago. We feel it's important to get the farmers' message out there, touch base with our lawmakers. We're fortunate in South Dakota to have lawmakers that understand the importance of agriculture to South Dakota, and so we're trying to, build that teamwork, anything that we can do to support them and to really help them get the ear of the administration and maybe move the needle in the direction of, ending this trade war as soon as possible is really what we're looking for.
How much is this really impacting, area farmers?
Oh, for South Dakota, losing China, even in some small part as a customer, is particularly painful because we rely more heavily than most states on exports. If you look at a map, we're not on the Mississippi River, so we can't float our soybeans down and have access to all of the global markets that come out of New Orleans there. If we export soybeans from South Dakota, almost all of them go through the Pacific Northwest, and then they need to be sold in the Pacific Rim. And China's obviously the biggest customer. They buy, 1 out of 3 soybeans nationwide, and for South Dakota, that number's, even higher.
And this is coming at a bad time for farmers anyways, right? The farm economy has been difficult.
Since 2012 or 2013, farm income is down 50% already, and that was pre-trade war. So this is certainly not going to help things there. The impact to a state like South Dakota that produces right at about 250 million bushels of soybeans, a price loss of $2 is where we're at today as we're sitting here.
Price loss, so what does that mean? That means you're actually losing money?
In the futures market has declined that much at this point for the 2018 crop of soybeans that are in the fields right now. Those will be sold in November, or you'll be able to start selling them in November, and that those contracts have already declined $2. And so we're looking at $400 to $500 million in loss. And we were talking about this with Senator Rounds the other day. And to put that in perspective, I think the state budget of the whole state of South Dakota is $4 billion. So $500 million, has vanished because of this. And we really need this resolved really, really soon.
This, of course, farmers are paying attention to this, but people who aren't farmers in South Dakota should probably be paying attention to this too, right? I mean, the trickle-down effect.
Absolutely. And in South Dakota, farming is what we do here, and we're all proud of that. Even in the cities, you talk to people, We all identify with agriculture in this state, and for good reason. Pain that's felt out on the farms is going to find its way to Main Street right here in Sioux Falls, you know, in short order, for sure.
So what do you think needs to be done?
You know, we're pushing for rescinding these tariffs. We feel that going in multilaterally with a number of countries and trying to deal with some of our trade issues that we have would be a much better strategy. And so I think that a thing like TPP, which was widely panned in the last election by both of the major candidates, we think that really we should be taking another look at that. There were some really good wins for agriculture and really for a number of industries in these multilateral trade deals. And I think we need to get back to that line of thinking because it has really done pretty well for states like South Dakota, for sure.
After being in Washington for around a week, right?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Are you pretty optimistic that there will be changes?
Eventually, look, I mean, they are our elected leaders, we say, but in reality, they're our elected followers. And so, you know, as the opinions of rural America begin to shift based around the economic impact of this, which is impossible to deny at this point, you know, I think political opinions are going to be changing around that. This winter, when farmers go to visit their bankers, Casey, a lot of South Dakota farmers operate their farms on borrowed money. Yeah. And you're going to have to look at your banker and say, I'm out of cash. What are we going to do? I mean, yes, the president might be trying to get better trade deals for tech companies, multi-billion-dollar tech companies, but that can't be hung around the necks of farmers here in South Dakota. We couldn't afford it before this trade war started, and now with this price loss, we absolutely just cannot take it.
So you think there will be farmers that will be out of business because of this?
Absolutely, and you know, in the 1980s, we lost an entire generation of farmers whose fathers, roughly my grandfather's age, were telling guys like my dad and people his age to get out of here. There's no future for you here because the economics just doesn't make sense. And we're looking at having that happen on both sides now because we've got guys that are in their 60s. They've built a decent equity position in their farm and they don't want to see that eroded anymore. So they're going to be out. And then there's going to be a whole generation of people. I'm worried about the people younger than me. You know, we took about 10 people to Capitol Hill the other day, and 6 of them were young farmers, people that are just getting started. Those are the people that I'm really worried about, Casey, because they're starting with nothing, as farmers always do, and if we can't show them a pathway to a future in farming, they're just going to be gone, and there's going to be nobody left out in my part of the world doing all the work, and I don't want to do it all.
Yeah,
Sorry,
believe it or not. Yeah.
I really don't.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, you've been hearing a lot about the soybean industry, but these tariffs are impacting many parts of KELOLAND. We're talking with a pork producer when Inside KELOLAND continues. Soybean farmers aren't the only people in KELOLAND who are affected by the trade war. Pork producers now face a 62% tariff on Chinese exports. The country bought nearly a fifth of all U.S. pork sold abroad last year. I'm joined now by Craig Anderson, a pork producer from Centerville, and Craig is also the vice president of the South Dakota Pork Producers Council. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. How have pork producers been hit so far by these tariffs?
Well, they've been hit fairly severely. I mean, like you say, this is our second round. We start with a 12% tariff, and then we had another 25% put on at the beginning of April, and now we've had another 25% put on through China. So
this isn't the first time you guys have been hit by tariffs?
No, no, it's just this year it's been going up. So like you say, we get to a 62% right now.
So the pork industry also impacts the soybean industry too, right?
Sure, because we're using soybean meal and we use corn and everything. And so as you can't afford to pay as much for some of your products, you just can't afford it, and there's going to be a reduction in herd number and everything, but it's going to take a little while.
I actually found this statistic here from the Iowa State University. They're estimating right now through May, pork producers have faced losses of $18 per pig. So some producers are actually losing money right now.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's
So you're working and losing money.
Yeah, isn't that a good way to have it?
Not quite. So, yeah, what do you think needs to be done?
Well, of course, we would like to have the tariffs back to a level that we could live with and everything. We'd like to have them back to where we were. But we also realize that trade is a very complicated issue, and things generally don't get straightened out overnight. We just hope that there isn't going to be quite the escalation of things going on as what it sounds like there might be.
So the pork industry has been struggling for a few years now too, right?
Well, to a certain degree, yes. It's a cyclical business, so then we do go through good and bad, and hopefully the good outnumber the bad.
So you think these tariffs will impact smaller pork producers harder, or do you think it will be more difficult for them to compete?
It probably will, because the larger producers are the ones that have agreements with packers, or the packers will come to them first to supply their needs rather than a smaller producer. That's where it gets complicated.
In South Dakota, I know we don't probably think a ton about China, but does China make a big difference when it comes to your industry?
Yes, it does, because it's for the whole nation. It's a real big thing. It's our second largest on volume and third on value. So it's a very big deal to all pork producers.
Thank you so much for joining us today. South Dakota's dairy industry is also caught in the middle of the trade war. KELOLAND News intern Nathan Finster went to a dairy farm outside of Brandon to look at how the tariffs against China could affect local producers.
The international headlines are having a direct impact on this South Dakota farm.
So it's brought the milk price down to below break even for most dairy farmers in this area and throughout the U.S.
Royalwood Farms is located outside of Brandon. Greg Odie is one of the owners.
The trade deal, it is hurting us. And I think we're just going to have to weigh it out and sort it out and see how things go.
In the meantime, they'll be watching their spending to make sure they can cover their operating costs and stay open.
I think what we're going to have to do is sit back and look at some of our things we want to purchase or add this summer and say, is it justifiable? Can we afford it?
Despite the tariffs, Odie says the farm will run as it always has. He'll be hoping for the best.
We'll keep going forward, watching our pennies, and like you said, keep going forward. So when the opportunity arises, we can take advantage of it.
At Royalwood Farms, Nathan Finster, KELOLAND News.
South Dakota's congressional delegation is breaking from their party leader on this issue. We're talking to a political expert next. Welcome back. South Dakota's congressional delegation came out strongly against the president this week on the trade war. Congresswoman Kristi Noem says it's South Dakota's ag industry that's losing.
What President Trump has done is try to fix the situation and make sure that we get better trade agreements going forward. China retaliated then and punished our ag products. And that's really what's going on here, is that it's China that's hurting South Dakota farmers and ranchers.
Meanwhile, Senator John Thune has this advice for the path forward.
Frankly, I think the best solution long term, rather than putting tariffs on, is negotiate trade deals and open up more markets.
I'm joined now by Evren Wiltsey, a political science professor at SDSU. Thanks for joining us, Evren.
Thanks for having me.
And you've actually studied trade pretty in depth as well.
Yes, I study issues of trade development.
So for those who aren't familiar with the term tariff, what exactly is it in short?
I think we can call it a government-imposed tax on goods and services that cross borders. So if we consider it as a tax, then a lot of this jargon would probably make more sense to us. When we talk about tariffs, essentially what we're saying is a government imposing taxes on soybeans, manufacturing goods, machinery that crosses from one state to the other.
Do you think this is a really hard topic right now for Republican lawmakers in South Dakota to talk about?
It is a little tricky, I would say. It's a little tricky because historically the issue has evolved in some very unexpected ways for us who study, this, foreign policy and trade policy issues. The evolution is quite interesting.
It hasn't always been a partisan issue then?
Not at all. Actually, when you look at it, if we go back to the end of World War II, when we look at, the alliance that the U.S. was trying to create, it was the cornerstones were democracy and free trade. Okay, so the U.S., regardless of which party was in power, was the greatest advocate of free trade, because the underlying assumption is, if you have open markets, then you will inevitably have open societies and democracies don't fight each other. So here is, basically peace and happiness for everyone. If we kind of keep the markets open and the trade lines open, then that is the long-term enlightened self-interest of the U.S., that it would bring peace and stability and security and prosperity to everyone.
That's interesting how it's changed. We heard from Representative Noem just a moment ago, and she was kind of placing the blame more on China versus Trump's decision. I mean, do you think Republican lawmakers have to be careful about how they're wording this? And
it's obviously, there's always, some truth in every statement the politicians make. But for me, when I look at it, especially through NAFTA, because when we look at South Dakota, for example, our top trading partners are Canada, Mexico, and China. So really, cutting off all of these things would be very, very detrimental to South Dakotan economy and through for the entire economy of the U.S. But we have a lot to lose here in South Dakota. What countries try to do is they always try to kind of favor their own, their own businesses, their own industries. So China does this in very, very different underhanded ways, like providing really a lot of generous, almost loans, grants to its businesses, government run corporations, and all sorts of kickbacks if you do business with their companies instead of, a competing U.S. company. So what the administration could do is try to make the international economy a level, a fair playing game, instead of, oh, you have done something wrong, China, now I'm going to slap these tariffs, which are essentially taxes on your goods, and then what you get is retaliation and they impose taxes, and we can't get anywhere through there. We need to make the rules of the game transparent, accountable, honorable, honest referees in the process, so that in that case the U.S. wins. Because the economy is so strong and efficient.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your perspective. Well, you can find out more about today's topics online at KELOLAND.com. Just click on the Inside KELOLAND section. Join us every Sunday following the 10 o'clock news right here on KELO TV. That's all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week for more on what's going on inside KELOLAND.